So let's get started. So the first thing that we're going to do is really talk about how do we develop your idea. What I'd love you to do on your blank sheet of paper, your iPad, your phone, whatever you've got in front of you, thinking about yourself and about what you may like to blog about, just write down 3 or 4 ideas, 2 ideas, 1 idea. Write it down as a statement. So, for example, it could be you may be an expert in leadership, you may be an expert in cyber safety, cyber security, you may be an expert in AI, you may be an expert in people management, in finance, whatever it is. Think about your expertise. What is one statement that you think about that you'd love to write about? So if I take my work, my work around one of my books is called It's Who You Know, and it's all about how you build a network of key people around you. My statement could be, we need to connect better than ever before if we're going to succeed in the 21st century. Just a statement. There's no depth, there's no width, it's just a statement. Farron, give me one of your statements. What would one of your statements be?
Gee, that's dangerous given the audience and the fact that I'm wearing this uniform. But you know that I'm a fan of a different way of looking at how we lead people. I think the organization needs that.
Awesome. So Farron's could be, his statement could just be, and again, I don't want perfection here. We're just playing at the moment. Your statement could be, leadership needs to change. It could be something you want to rant about. If you're brave enough, I get the audience. If you're brave enough, stick a statement in that discussion forum, because it helps me just get a feel of what's going on. Just a statement, 1 statement, 2 statement. What are you thinking about? If you're struggling here, go, what would the title of your blog be that you're about to submit to Farron? Stick some in there. Told you it's going to be hard work. Thank you, Travis. We need toxins. We need toxins, better ways for allies to work together. Awesome. Why quick wins aren't? Brilliantly. If you got the hang of it, we need better ways. Awesome. The importance of good staff work. Brilliant. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Outcomes, not processes. Brilliant. Stupid or that's a statement. I know. I read it. I'm sorry. I'm literally jumping between multiple screens here. I get it, Travis. Don't worry. Win together. Better communication. So these are what I call brain farts. They're like, poof, brain fart, idea, statement. I hope that becomes like the vernacular within the Air Force. That would make me giggle. So the brain farts, the importance of critical thinking, right? What we've got to, hang on, just pick one. Pick one of your statements, just highlight it. This is the one we're going to work on today. Remember, it's not about perfection. We're just practicing. What we have to do, the key to developing your great message is to structure your message so that it dances across those 4 spectrums, that left and right brain logic and that abstract thinking and that concrete, the stuff, the content thinking. We've got to make sure we go wide and we go deep and we work across this spectrum. And as I said, at first, this is going to feel like hard work. It will feel like hard work, but once you get past it, once you start learning this framework, your ideas, your thinking is going to zing. It will absolutely sell. You'll be able to develop your influencing skills, and you'll also be able to identify when people aren't listening to you, why? What is the gap that you're missing? This ability to think is all about incorporating left brain logic, right brain creative, as well as big picture and concrete. What we do is create this artistry around painting a picture for people. We've got to paint the picture. We've got to create the why. Why is this blog so important? Why should I read this? We've got to be able to bring the idea to life so that I get what this blog's talking about, what your message is. We've got to help your audience join the dots. It's almost see how I've now gone into content and detail. I've moved from abstract, paint, picture, bring to life. But what we have to do is we've got to be able to help your readers, your audiences join the dots so that they know why this is important. This is where we back up our thinking, back up our idea. And you've got to be able to share the way. You've got to show them the way. You've got to pave that path to the future by giving them a story about how your works. This ability to get all four is absolutely key. What we're going to use is a framework that's been developed by one of my mentors, an incredible guy called Matt Church. And this framework is called, the only reason it's called a pink sheet is because when he created this framework, the only color paper he had in the office was pink, but it will be forever known as the pink sheet. This is what we're doing. You're going to be able to download this sheet so that you can actually use this to develop your thinking. Jumping over to my iPad. So here is the pink sheet. If we overlay this, let me just go back here. If you think of that in your head, and we were to overlay that onto here, essentially it looks like this. Remember, we need to be able to work across all spectrums. It's about painting the picture through model. Actually, let me just change the size. It's about painting the picture. It's about bringing it to life through metaphor. It's about using the backup evidence to join the dots. And then it's about sharing a story so that I can feel and see and understand why critical thinking is so important, why better communication is so important, why winning together is super important, why it's all about outcomes, not processes. Okay, so this is what we're building, and I'm going to show you how to build this. So if you can't print out that blank pink sheet because of how your system works, can I suggest that on a piece of blank paper, maybe if you've got the pink sheet, just put it in yes there. If not, just on a blank piece of paper, draw it up. So literally draw the pink sheet and just put 3, design it like that on a piece of paper. When you're there, just go got it in the message. I don't want to move too quickly. It is really important that you get this. So either draw it on a blank sheet of paper or print it out. Awesome. Okay, we're going to start filling this out. So the first thing I want you to do is take that statement that you wrote earlier in the discussion forum, and I want you to write your statement here. So just put your statement. We need to lead differently. Let's zoom back. We need better ways. We need better ways to allow allies to work together. My quick wins aren't. Just put whatever your statement is there. Because here's what happens. Most of us start our blog with that statement, and then we go to our natural thinking style and we write in that thinking style. You write either 1, 2, 3, or 4. Before you even start writing, you need to create this framework. I'll let you know a secret. Every single blog that I write, I use this framework. Every single time I go on video and live stream, I use this framework. Every single time I build a workshop, a presentation, a keynote, I use multiples of this framework. My books are jammed with pink sheets. This stuff works. This stuff works. So you've got your statement. What I then want you to do, So let's imagine, think of you as the title of a book cover, your blog title, an album cover, whatever rocks your world. That's your statement. The explanation is like your subheading. So think about no more than 50 words. No more than 50 words. Remember, we're not doing perfection here. No one's going to see this. All we're doing is emptying your head of what you think. So it doesn't have to be beautifully crafted. What I want you to do right now, thinking about your statement, what on earth do you really mean? To write down an explanation that is linked to that statement. Tell me what you mean. Tell me what you mean. No problem, guys. Thank you. Can you put hands up on this system, Theron? Can
Yes,
people put their hands up? If anyone is brave enough to put their hands up just to help show this in practice, once again, I'm not looking for perfection. Please do, because it's awesome to actually articulate, to say what you think.
Hey everybody, I'm not sure, but I seem to have lost Janine. We'll see if we can get her back. Okay,
I'm
back.
all right, I can't touch any of this stuff below. So if has anyone put their hands up, Theron, to be brave enough to share?
No, not that I've seen.
All right. So Theron, you're gonna have to be my my little practice person here. And again, it doesn't have to be right. You can make something up totally. So what was your statement?
I'm going to use this as a platform for my book, which you know about.
Yeah.
So when I said we need a new model of leading individuals, I look at some of the leadership models that we use in defence, but across elsewhere as well. And I think there's a lack of focusing on how you lead the individual that's standing in front of you. So there's a whole bunch of work in there around servant leadership and around emotional intelligence that
awesome.
we brought into, rather than having all those different disparate models, using those tools at the right time for the individual that's standing in front of you to get the best out of them and yourself. So that's my statement.
Excellent. So in 10 words, statement, just say.
We need a new model of leading individuals.
Awesome. So that's Theron's statement. Now go, okay, I often try and think of words to start my explanation. I start with why, how. Why, blah, 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 to. How, will. If you were to do that, Theron, just again, just say what comes to mind, just as by way of showing how this can work.
Okay, so from a why perspective, we, as leaders, we gain benefit. We deliver the outcomes we want through the value of our people and how engaged they are.
Awesome.
That's the why.
So we need a better way of leadership. How to engage your teams and your people to deliver on the strategy that matters, for example.
Sure.
Could be the explanation. Yeah. Right. All got it? Give me thumbs up. I'm not touching anything because I just managed to take myself off. I'm assuming you have. I move quickly. I'm assuming you have got this. All right. Next place I always go to is we jump down to the bottom. So we're jumping down to this bottom place. And you'll see the bottom has two elements to it. We're going into content. We're going into the absolute detail, the backup of our ideas, statement explanation. So let's start. I go, all right, if we think about study, do I have any evidence to back that up? And what you could write here, you could go, I think I've read something in Harvard Business Review around this. There's a book by, oh my God, there's a book I need to look at. I don't know, it could be by somebody like, I don't know, Jim Collins. I've definitely read an article. What you're trying to get are facts and figures and case studies and evidence to back up and support your statement. So, Theron, sorry that you're my guinea pig. I've voluntold you totally. But just thinking about your statement, your explanation, what springs to mind as what you could use as evidence to back that up here?
So you can bounce from the hard end of academic research into leadership principles, psychology of engagement.
Yeah, there you go.
Through to some of the more survey sort of based empirical data around Deloitte did a study of 400 CEOs, that sort of stuff.
Awesome. So do you hear what Theron did there? It was definitely, there's backup evidence, there's social have been, there's Deloitte's interviewed X thousand of CEOs and X percent said. That's what you're looking for. And I'm imagining in your space, you've probably got a lot of this backup stuff, right? The second thing I want you to then do is go, do I have a story that supports my statement or my explanation? Now, here's why this is really important. Many of you have, if you have incredible podcasts, you've listened to TED Talks that you've heard. If I were to say to you, what's your favorite movie? I'm going to pick on somebody. I'm going to pick on people. Mark Smith, are you able to unmute yourself? Is Mark Smith around? I'm not going to ask you to give your thinking. I just want to use you as an example for something.
Janine, we're going into uncharted territory, so we may have to just
don't do it then.
Discussion forum.
I'm going to use Theron. So Theron, what's your favorite movie? What's your favorite movie? What's your favorite movie?
Any of the Alien franchise.
And can you, in 30 seconds, what the hell is Alien about?
Aliens? Bad things from outer space?
What about the middle of the end?
Start is they get a message that they go and check out on another planet. The middle is everybody dies, and the end is one person survives, thankfully, to live the day.
Share every single working second of a movie, but what we talk about, how we share stuff as human beings is through story. Story is really powerful, right? Story creates memory. Stories allows individuals to create pictures in their own brains. Stories allows people to go, oh my gosh, oh wow, I got that. If you were to hear me speaking a keynote, I start always with story. And again, my blogs have story in them because it's all about engaging. So what I want you to do when you're thinking is a story that I have that, and preferably a personal story, not necessarily an Army or Air Force story, but what's a story that links to your statement? And stories are really, really powerful. There's a whole heap of stories you could use. You could use films as story. We're all surrounded by stories in life through our own experience, and it's about finding the story to prove your point. So we need story. We need story there. Okay, you're still with me? Is everyone with me? Hopefully you are. Now you'll notice that we've not done the top bit yet. The top bit is where we get into putting up that context around our idea. The I would start here. We go to this metaphor. What is it a bit like? What is it a bit like? So, for example, leadership. Is it like how the All Blacks build and run and achieve so much success? Is having a plan a bit like sending a rocket to the moon without a plan? It will round and round, but a plan allows it to get there with much more ease and effort. Is collaboration like you can't play with one piece? The beauty of chess is the multiple movements of all the pieces together. You've got to create a metaphor. If you struggle with this, I often use as my here quotes. Quotes are awesome metaphors. Quotes that other people can easily find this. Just Google quotes about connection, quotes about leadership, quotes about engagement, quotes about making choices, quotes about actions, quotes about fear, quotes about success, and find a quote that connects with you. Really, really, really powerful. Now, the flip side, the other side, the left brain side of context is we then have to build a model. And models are cool because models help people like me. I'm a massively contextual thinker. I think picture. If we were to ever meet over a coffee, I've constantly, see, I've got a pen in my hand now. I've constantly got pen and paper, constantly draw models to explain my thinking. So if I'm reading a blog that is jammed with case study and facts and figures, if I'm listening to a finance presentation and there's so much on the slide, lost me. I absolutely switch off. If there is a visual, if there is a model, if there is a metaphor that connects with me, you've got me. And this is the artistry of thinking differently. When it comes to models, what I want you to think about here is how do you draw a diagram that sums up your thinking? And I reckon there's some really simple, we're talking about shapes. I don't think it. There's some incredible models out there. You know, we've got Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It's literally triangles stacked on top of each other. We have got COVID's productivity model, quadrant, 4 squares, sigmoids, theory around growth. It's a curve. I think when it comes to models, the ones I usually go to are circles, ideas that would be together. It could be triangles to signify movement. You could do sequencing. You can do quadrant models. Just go, what would a model look like that I could draw that would explain what it looks like, etc., etc. So I'm just going to pause for a second because I have a massive challenge to you all there. Think differently. As I said, this essentially in the middle here is your idea, your blog title. Study is essentially your backup proof. The model essentially is about show me how. The metaphor and the story are all about engagement. Real. Comments, aha moments, questions first. I'm going to ask you 2 questions. First of all, what are you feeling? What immediate aha insight that's come? Use that discussion forum. Yeah. What are you feeling? So whilst people are thinking, Sarah, because you've done this, when you first heard this concept, remember when you were?
To be honest, I am still struggling to come up with a model. I've actually in the background been trying to take a picture of my study wall where my model is currently in development. So it's a bunch of A4 paper with different words and concepts on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really hard to, especially if your idea is complex, to put it into a model. So the challenge is, of course, simplifying it so that you can sell it.
Yeah. So that's a bit of Matthew's question there. So asking, is model some form of relationship? So I think of models in two ways, right? I think of model as there's two critical models that you can create. The first model are what I call why models. Why does my idea matter? Why does my idea matter? And I think two that you could use. The first one, I'll give you a clue because I did it over here. I'll just put this up. Hope the laptop came up. That's a why model. It's about growth. It's about momentum. It's about creating an aspiration point. And the same here. So think about what are the steps of going from a not nice place, going from an aspirational place, essentially the growth on the way up. Could be a why model. The other why model, quite simply, why my idea matters. If we take your thinking, why do we need to think about leadership in a new way? Well, because for years and years and years, we had lots and lots of growth. People were really happy. But we've reached this state of quo point where we've got engaging people to do the work that's needed. So what I'm all about is teaching you, my ideas are about this next stage of growth. Simple, keep it simple, keep it simple. Answer your question, Matthew, talking about is what I call a how model. So relationship between what you are and the how model can either be, here are the three things, the four things that only when we do together do we reach of leadership being example. Or you could have a model, this is Stephen Covey's model, where you have an axis of X and Y, and you go, this is really rubbish, this place. This one's not too bad. Oops. This one's not too bad either. But ultimately, getting mixed up with my X's and Y's, but ultimately this is the place that we're all about, and this is what my blog's talking to. Simple, you guys will overcomplicate stuff. There is no doubt about it. Simplify it, simplify it, simplify it. I've shown you multiple models already today. I showed you very simply 4 boxes. I showed you this model. Remember that one? That's the model. I showed this model. Why leadership matters. I want to take relevant parts and ideas, creating elegant thinking. Showing you this model. Maslow hierarchy of needs. Essentially do where you just basics of physiological up to self-actualization. Covey's quadrant model. Sigmoid's growth model. The beauty is in the simplicity. You know, Michelangelo, apparently, when he was asked about where the idea for Statue of David came from, he actually said, the Statue of David was always there. It's actually what I choose to take away that created beauty that is the Statue of David. And the same can be said for models. Many of you will make them overcomplicated. Start there, but it's what you take away that creates the genius. question, Matthew. So on this concept of developing your thinking. What are we feeling right now? I'm just going to pull up my pink sheet. 2 seconds. I've lost my pink sheet. That's what I'm looking for. There it is. Here we go. What are we thinking? My second question. Which bit is easy for you and which bit is hard for you? So Theron, which element of this is the easy bit, the stuff that you find easy, the stuff that you can easily go to straight away?
For me, the go-to is the stories, that human connection of, what drove me down this path, wanting to look at this sort of stuff. The hard bit is the discipline to do the research to get that concrete information ready.
Yeah. And that's because, Theron, where did you put yourself on that model? 2 seconds, let me just check. I'm just whizzing around my slides here. On this model, which box were you in?
So I haven't got visual of you at the moment, but I was in the abstract creative. So I think it was 2. Is it 2?
Yeah. Abstract creatives. It is not surprising that Theron, hopefully everyone else can still see me. It's not surprising that Theron finds it way easier to think on this side of the sheet. But did you hear him go, my model, got all my sheets up here and I just need to simplify it, because his not natural way of thinking is over left brain and detail. So we will find this hard. You absolutely will find elements of this hard, but if you can push through, this is how we develop width and depth our thinking. So before you write, you need to do this. Develop your thinking and use this framework to think context down to concrete content. To be able to think left brain, logic, and right brain, creative. Useful? Give me a thumbs up. Are you happy for me to move on to how you turn this into a blog? I can't see any questions or comments, so I'm hoping, Theron, I'm taking your lead here.
Yeah, look, I think there's probably a lot of information that you've delivered in the last hour or so. So people are probably still processing. So yeah, let's move on.
Oh, awesome. This is how it comes to life, right? So every pink sheet do turns into a social media post, it turns into a blog, it turns into a chapter of a book, it turns into a podcast. This is where we're thinking once and delivering often. It's developing the depth of our thinking to ultimately allow us to step up that ladder of moving from relevant to unique thinking. Writing a blog is a very special skill too. Very hard to write a blog if you've only got an idea. It's really hard to write. So what I'm going to share with you is a 5-step process to writing a blog. And as I'm going through this, you will see how it links back to the picture. So step number one. Step number one is you start with your story. The whole objective of writing blog, want people to engage with your thinking. And the best way to start the thinking, get them engaged, is to share a story. You could share a quote. You could share 3 rhetorical questions. You could actually have a little rant if you wanted to. You could share just something that is going to engage them. It's about writing an case study, something relevant, a relevant scenario that essentially hooks them in to the content of your blog that they can immediately relate to and immediately engage with. You know, journalists are also at this. This is the artistry of getting people to read your social media posts. The story is the thing that engages you. Now, for those of you that preach, you'll now be focusing in on the number. So some of you are focused on the number there, 100 words, is just a work. I'm giving you this, assume 500 blog. But if you look at my, that's not strict. I'm not strictly doing 100 words and then stopping. What I'm is giving you a work within which you're creative. So it's the steps that count. Jay Shetty in his book, Think Like a Monk. By the way, have you just seen what I've just done? Jay Shetty in his book, Think Like a Monk, so I've just gone into some backup for why frameworks are important. He talks about actually having a framework facilitates that and unlocks creativity. That when we put a framework around something, it creates this awesome space within which ideas can be created. Individuals that don't work with framework, ones that we often find through life, not able to anchor themselves because they're constantly changing direction. It's the same for a blog. This is a framework within which you absolutely have creativity to expand and as you see, but essentially is what matters. So start with something that will engage me. I always start with a story. It could be a quote. It could be 3 rhetorical questions. It could be an astounding fact that you've read. Whatever it is, it's about engagement. This is, get back to the pink sheet. Let me just get my iPad. Let me just bring it back here. Let me just clean this up a second. So essentially, this is this bit. Oops. You start with that. Next, go into explaining the relevance of the story. So why are you telling me this story? What's this all about? And this is where we go to the middle. Let me find an example for you. Find an example for you. So you have books. I see this. So my Susan Collins's sci-fi The Hunger Games. 12 and 18 are selected by lottery from each of the 12 districts to fight in a murderous, televised game of survival. When 16-year-old Katniss Everdeen strategically outflanks both the other contestants and the organizers, using as her weapons compassion and collaboration rather than anger and competition, she not only wins the contest, but also becomes the symbol of a revolution. Alone, Katniss is no threat, but when she joins forces with other strategists and game players of diverse talents, her influence and impact increase exponentially. She carefully selects individuals who add strength where she is weak, so collectively they form one superpower capable of overthrowing the dictatorship that has not ruled their universe. As with much dystopian fiction, so I'm bringing the link in now, there are clear lessons to be drawn from history, foremost of which is that we can only achieve so our own. We align our strategically with people, have the potential to make change, transform the game of life. So what I did there, told a story, and then linked it back to the concept, the essence of what this blog is all about. Cool, you're still with me. Then we move on to the third bit. Okay, why on earth does what you're talking about matter to me? Why does it matter? What we're doing here is connecting, and this is where we bring it back essentially some of the this matters because engagement in organizations is declining. This matters because we're finding it hard to retain talent. This moment, we are finding it hard to actually attract new talent into this organization because nobody wants to work with the culture created or the leaders that are in charge. Backing it up with, so if I was writing this, that's where we're bringing in Harvard Business Review show as a 4 study in engagement has dropped by if I was writing a blog about why leadership needs to change. So essentially, you can write about the study. Okay. How do you recommend change is needed? What are you telling me to do? On purpose. I get it, Janine. I get it. You've engaged. You've see why this story is relevant. You see what your blog. You've actually got me really engaged now because you've pointed out this really matters. You've told me the problem, and I'm there. I get it. Okay, so what do I do next? It's really important that at this point you how. And for some, this is where you on your sheet, and it goes back to I think Matthew's question of you have your maybe a how. Maybe in my world. So what we need to do is we need to connect with 12 critical people, and these people support each other, promoters, kickers, they're through teachers, and they collect are able to ensure that we are surrounded by diversity of opinion, of skill, of thought leadership to help us actually achieve what it is that we're looking for. So step number 4 in your blog is you write about how, your ideas, your recommendations, the change that needs to happen. And then the final bit is the conclusion, the next step, the payoff. So what do you need to do? Go over this again as you're making notes. So the story is all about engaging. You've got something interesting here. You've got to share some pop culture like I did there with Hunger Games, or a personal story, an anecdote, to actually reference why what you are talking about is going to be relevant. It's about engaging me, so I want to read the rest of it. This is what turns Bella's Dishwater blog content, which is a lot of into reading, and I'm getting through because I want to get to the end. The what is about explaining the relevant story. And what is the main point that you're trying to make? And how does this point relate to the story? What's the insight? What are the ideas? How does it link? Like I did, it shows that we can't be alone, but only when we're together, only when we supplement our weaknesses with other people's strengths, move forward and achieve what it is that we want to achieve. Step number 3, the why. This is clarifying why it's important to your reader, why it's important to the person reading that blog that they do something about it, and why what you're telling them is important. And this is where you use the backup evidence. The how is then when you go into identifying how the reader must change to help them overcome whatever that problem is, what you're asking them to do, how you're wanting things to change, your 3 steps, your 5 steps, your 3 insights, the one thing. You know, what are you asking? What's your recommendation of how change needs to happen? And so if you write a longer piece of, you can absolutely expand on this. So you can expand in chapters of a book. These are like 1,000. Step 4 would be like 1,000 words. But the final thing of your blog is you've got to finish it off with a payoff. Often this is about writing that final conclusion. Potentially it's about going back to the story. In my blogs, for example, So think about X. What is the one key thing you're going to change this week? Out of these 3 points that I shared, what is the one critical thing that you're going to do differently? So I make sure I bring it back and give the reader a reason to be inspired and a reason to do something different. So that, my friends, is the structure of an ideal blog. You got the 5 steps to go through that are all pulled together on the back of your thought leadership, your pink sheet, your thinking tool will help you write that. Any questions before I wrap up, Farron? What I am going to do of you is to send you a cheat sheet for your blog. I'm going to, I think you've already got the pink sheet. I'm going to give Farron the PDF of an ebook called Think that was written by my mentor, Matt Church. And essentially he goes through in lots of detail those sections of the sheet. I'm giving you the framework and tools to ensure that what you think is able to be translated into the real world, into incredible blogs, so that you capture it in your organization to enable your organization and each other to amplify the impact that you have. So before I wrap up, any questions?
Janine, thank you so much for the presentation. We'll just wait to see if people are going to pose any questions to you. I will sort of, I guess, summarize from our perspective as well and let everybody know that a copy of the video of this presentation, along with all the resources that Janine just spoke about, will be available on the ASPC website in due course. In fact, most of them are already there. The video will take a day or two to upload. So please share amongst your colleagues if you got some value from this. Obviously, the Centre is keen to hear the thoughts and ideas from Air Force personnel, as much as wider defence, as much as wider society, on how we might want to think about air and space power differently in the future. One of the things we talk about in the Centre at the moment is air and space power isn't about things that punch holes in skies. Obviously, that's a component of it, but there's a whole bunch of things that support that capability. So how do we look at workforce and organizational design? How do we look at logistics and supply chain in whatever is happening in the world? And we've seen some challenges with that through COVID. So how do we maintain our logistics capabilities when our supply chains get interrupted? So wide range of topics, limited only by your imagination. Send things into us and we will do our best. So we'll see if there's a couple of discussions, a couple of thank yous from Noel and Lachlan.
And I think what you've just said there, Farron, really it's summed up for me by this quote from Napoleon Hill. What you just said is this: first comes the thought, then organization of that thought into ideas and plans, formation of those. The beginning, as you will always observe, is in your imagination. And as Farron and the team have really challenged all of you to do, is thinking solution ideas. And I do this work with CEOs around the world. And the thing I always say to them is the ideas that you're looking for are within your walls. Answers that you're searching for of how to navigate now into are here in the skill, in the capability, in the experience, thinking. It's in the four walls. And what has been created for you now is this opportunity to share your thinking. And for me, that is thought in itself, a platform within which you can capture all of the thinking that exists within your organization. I wanted to share with you essentially is you up, to skill you up, to ensure that all of that thinking has as much impact and as much influence as it absolutely should do. Because we need you and what you think to help navigate into the future. And if those ideas stay stuck and unable to articulate them properly, then unfortunately we all lose out. So this is an incredible opportunity to help whatever area you're in. No idea is a bad idea. What is often bad is the execution of that idea. And this framework is forcing you, and it will be tough. I found it tough. I started this whole process myself 10 years ago. And if I could show you my first pink, oh my God, it was like pulling teeth, because you have been trained for years and years and years and years to think in. And what I'm challenging you to do is to force yourself to thinking a little bit differently. Because when you do that, your impact and influence is. Just get started, just practice. No one needs to see your piece. This is about unpacking your thinking so that you're able to have the influence and the impact and share what is really important, which is what you think.
I think I need to engage you as our marketing person, Janine.
Thank you. That's my background. No, I think it's awesome what you do.
Yeah, like, and one of the things that again we talk about in the center is the things that we're seeing in technology today was in the imagination of somebody 30 or 50 years ago.
Yeah,
and it takes that time to generate through. So we really want to try and tap into the imagination of today to shape what Air Force and what Australia might look like in 30 to 50 years, because it takes that time to generate through. Janine, just to wrap up, I want to give you an opportunity to sort of talk about your new, what we call a weekly chat with your network. Would you like to talk about that? You had your first.
Thank you. I faced my this morning. Theron called it. So, I'm passionate about unleashing brilliance. It's my driver. Many years working corporately in senior positions. I then built and sold businesses. I've spoken to thousands of people around the world pre-COVID. I was on stages and conferences, etc. And the thing that fires me up is the amount of untapped potential. So many people have so much more in them and whether it's from their own fears or whether it's as a result of leadership, which I know Theron's passionate about, that's squashing ideas, one way or another, in a period of change, the only thing is constant who you are, what you want to be, and being able to connect with the right people to do that. So we've shifted a lot of our business and doing a lot of online delivery. But one of the key things that I want to do is to connect people on the global landscape with people that I know. I know some pretty awesome people, and part of what I'm doing is I am live streaming 3 times a week, actually. YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, talking about how do we learn to connect better? How do we learn to connect better, build incredibly high quality networks that ultimately we can effortlessly leverage to scale our own career or our businesses, whatever industry you're in. And my challenge to myself this morning was to start this live stream. It's who you know, people that I know. So once a month on a Friday, I'm bringing somebody that I know online, and we're having a conversation around the area of expertise, around how connection to themselves, their ideas, and each other has enabled them to achieve those goals. And my intention is essentially for you to do them, and hopefully through the little work that I do, we'll be able to create this multiplier of incredible people meeting incredible people that they otherwise wouldn't have known. So this morning, as an example, there was a guy that joins me online. He's ex-military, actually, and I Harvard in 2019. I invested in some leadership development myself and did a course at Harvard. An incredible guy, ex-US military, a guy called Dr. Michael Perry. We really connected. We've probably subsequently had a couple of Zoom sessions. He does some incredible work in the space of helping people leave the military. He got his thought leadership was around this anger at the amount of suicides that were happening as people were leaving the American military. And so he's done a lot of incredible work in there. Anyway, he appeared online this morning with my guest, who's Dr. Amy Silver, who's all about fear. And I'm going, you two need to connect. And so there's this wonderful serendipity moment. Don't know each other, same passions, being able to connect online. And if I can do that more often, my work is done.
Well, there you go. We've put a whole bunch of information in the discussion forum about how you can reach out and connect with Janine and sort of participate in some of the things that she's offering as well, if there's interest. I think with that, we might wrap it up. There's no questions coming in. Janine, on behalf of the Director of the Air and Space Power Centre, thank you very much for spending an hour and a half or so with us. Hopefully, there's been a lot of information shared, as I know, but hopefully people can take it away, process it a little bit in their own space and time, and we'll start to see the benefits of it soon. Thank you to everybody who attended. Sorry, go on.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, Theron.
No worries. Thank you for coming along, and thanks to Leith Roberts, who's been my assistance in the back end of this system, just troubleshooting some things. So thanks, Leith. And for everybody else, we'll look forward to seeing you next month. Just as a bit of a precursor, we're looking at doing a bit of a fireside chat with the new Director of the Air and Space Power Centre and the new Warrant Officer of the Centre as well. So learn what we're about, why we're doing it, and how you can be involved. So thanks, everybody.